Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Uresti, and this is my law firm, the Law Office of Lisa Uresti. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to plan for life as you age. Okay. So that can mean you're 30 and you're planning, your future, or you're 70 and you're planning. So at our office, we aim to help families protect their spouses, their kids, and property by planning for their future. So let's go ahead and begin. And you might wonder if this is the right place for you. So hopefully we're gonna help you figure this out. So if you're frustrated with all the information and confusion out there, or you're worried about leaving a mess behind for your kids, or you're worried about skilled nursing, and if you're getting older and you're in that 70 range or even 60, and you're worried about having to go into a nursing home but losing your whole life savings to pay for that, this is for you. Or if you're worried about that for your parents, or if you're worried about protecting your assets, especially if you have immature or young kids, and you're worried about protecting those assets after you're gone, or if you're worried about what you have and what you're leaving to a child, and if that child might get divorced, what's going to happen? Is it going to go to that child's wife or husband? Or if you're interested in making sure that what you want to happen with your belongings, your property, your life savings will happen if you pass away, become incapacitated, or if you ever need to go nursing home, then this is for you. Okay. So just to give you some statistics, only 34% of Americans have any type of estate planning. And I would say a very high percentage of that is a will. Okay. Most of y'all have heard of a will. But that's only 34%. And of that 34%, it's usually people in the age range over 65. Okay. So that means what we see is less than 12% of people in their 40s have any estate plan. So you are not alone if you don't have an estate plan. Okay. But this is who I am. I grew up here in San Antonio, in Texas. I have a strong work ethic. I'm a trustworthy attorney. We always do what's best for our client. So if you come in and you don't have any assets and you just have a car that you want to leave and that's your only belonging, we're not going to do this extensive trust for you. We do what's best for our client, okay? Because we want our clients to come back if they need something, and we want them to trust us. And so we're always working to be trustworthy and always doing what's best for our client. And some of the things that have led me to practice in this area is just seeing stuff happen in my own family. My grandpa got older, had to deal with dementia, and he never had an estate plan. And so he couldn't have an estate plan once he got dementia. And I'll explain why later. But also, having seen one of my kids' friends, his dad died. He was probably in his late 30s, and he was in a truck accident. I mean, from going to baseball practice where we all were, he died, and that was the end of his life. And there was just a big mess to clean up afterwards. So not only was the family grieving, but they had to deal with his estate not being planned. So we want to help you, give you some guidance, and we're also going to share some secrets here that would be good for you. Hopefully you learned something. All right. So what you're going to learn today. Oh, and before we talk about that, so I just want to show you, this is a picture of my family. So I'm just like a lot of you. I have a family, I have kids, I have a husband. I'm worried about my kids. What are they, if I die, what's going to happen? Who's going to take care of them? Who is going to pay for their education? And so that's another reason I got into this area of law. And so I'm just like y'all. I understand what you're going through. I have parents who are getting older. I have siblings. I don't actually have any more grandparents because they've passed away. So I would like to hopefully help you. And let me show you some of the things that we're going to learn today. We're going to understand estate planning. We're going to understand how to make medical care decisions and how to protect your assets. And we are going to focus on 3 key time periods. So those time periods are when you're alive and well. And I'm assuming you're all alive and well because you're listening. And so you're in control, you have access, and you take things for granted, right? You take that, hey, I have some money and I can go shopping. You take that for granted. But there's also the period where you could become incapacitated. Do you know who's going to be in control of your stuff? Who's going to have access to your stuff? And when I say your stuff, I mean your money, your house, your cars, your business. Whose rules govern? Yours, the state of Texas, the country, whose rules govern? And then there's a part where you're deceased. And who's in control of your stuff? And you may think, well, I don't know, I'll be dead, I can't be in control. But you can still be. But we'll talk about it. Who has access to your stuff? Whose rules govern? Do you ask yourself those things, and then we're gonna talk about, do you need a will or do you need a trust? Okay. Or do you need something else? So we're gonna focus on 3 key estate planning strategies. Okay. And I'm just gonna briefly go over these. I won't spend a lot of time because this is just an introductory session. So we're gonna talk about the rebound method, the basket method, and the piggy bank method. And you may be thinking, I've never heard of these methods for estate planning. Well, we call them that, and we're gonna tell you why. So let's talk, but the way we're gonna do this is we're going to use a fake couple. This is not a client. We're not giving any client information out. But the best way that we can explain this to you is by giving a scenario. So we're going to use Mark and Jane. Mark and Jane are great, but they're getting older. They're worried if they're going to have enough money to pay for their care. They're in good health still, right? And then you see their house, right? They have a nice little house and they look happy. But they don't want to wipe out their savings in case something happens, in case, they have a major illness. They have to go into a nursing home. They have a child who has a disability or something like that. They know that their neighbor had Alzheimer's and their neighbor spent everything that neighbor had saved throughout his life. We worked so hard and we save and we save and we want to buy the house and we want to have the white picket fence and we want to have 2 cars in a garage, and everything they saved, they lost it because their neighbor was dealing with Alzheimer's. Okay. So Mark is 70, Jane's 68. They have 4 kids, Jennifer, Jason, Scott, and Larry. They have a $400,000 house in San Antonio, $250,000 rental home in San Antonio, $1,000 retirement, $50,000 cash in the bank, 2 cars. They live off Social Security and their retirement. Well, what if Mark or Jane dies? Right? What do they do? I mean, they're going to die. So what do they need to do to prepare? Or what if one of them needs long-term care? So we're going to talk about the rebound method and what that can do for Mark and Jane. But first, let me explain. We call it the rebound method because it's usually when somebody does like a will, and when they die, every child or beneficiary is jumping up to see what they're going to get because they want it now and they know they're going to get something. Like when you're trying to get a ball, somebody's going to get the ball, but you don't know who, and you're jumping up and down. That's why we call this the rebound method. And this is really used as a will, powers of attorney, sometimes HIPAA authorizations. And we'll talk about this right now. So let's play it out. We're going to play out the rebound method. So when Mark passes away, Jane is going to come to me and Jane is going to say, Lisa, Mark passed away. He did a will and I need to probate it. Okay, what does probate mean? We have to. Well, it's just a piece of paper, guys. It doesn't mean anything until we go to court. So I'm going to say, okay, Jane, our legal fees are going to be, let's just say $3,000. And the expenses are going to run you about $600. So pay me $3,600 up front. Okay. And Jane's going to say, okay, Lisa, here you go. Here's your money. And then we're going to go to probate and we're going to tell the judge, and the judge is going to say, okay, Jane, you're the executor, right? And then when Jane passes away, now what's going to happen? Well, and this is just a summary of what they still have. So when Jane passes away, their child, Jennifer, do y'all remember Jennifer? Well, she's going to come to me And she's going to say, Lisa, I was the executor of mom's will and I need to probate it. So in that will, Jane left the 4 kids as equal beneficiaries. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to probate the will. And now I'm going to tell Jennifer, well, our rates have gone up, because inflation, right? So our rates are now $3,300 and your expenses are still going to be about $600, maybe $700, depending on how everyone cooperates. Okay. So let's just say $700. So now Jennifer is paying me $4,000 to probate the will. And we go to court and judge says, okay, you're the executor. Great. Go ahead and distribute all the money, right? So remember the money that was in there. Let's just say there was that $100,000, the house, the car, and everybody got 25%. Okay. Now, here is the issue. So here is their family again, right? Jason, he's a manager at HEB. He's good. Jennifer, she's 44. She's an engineer. She's good, right? She doesn't have any money problems. But we have Scott. Scott has a substance abuse problem. Okay, we don't know if that's drugs or alcohol, but he has something. And then we have Larry. Larry has autism. Larry cannot function in society on his own. So when Jane is giving out that money, guess what? What is she going to do about Larry? Larry has a disability. Do y'all think Larry gets disability income? Maybe. Is he getting Social Security? Does he get benefits, some type of special health insurance? Probably. Will he lose that if he gets, $150,000, $250,000 from his parents' estate? Probably. So what are you going to do? I mean, Jennifer can't change the will now. Both of her parents have died. That could be a problem. What about that if Scott, the one with substance abuse, got $250,000? What do you think he's going to do? Maybe he's on drugs. Do you think he's going to go buy more drugs? Probably. Or do you think he's going to go invest that money wisely and buy himself a house and a car? Maybe. So, those are things to think of. When you have a will, you cannot control what happens to that will. Whoever you left that money to gets it. And it could affect their benefits. It could affect their substance abuse issues. It could affect their kids. So you need to talk to an attorney about your own individual situation because everybody is unique and everybody's situation is unique. Okay. Now, what if Mark and Jane, they're still alive? Okay, let's back up. But let's just say one of them needs long-term care. How are they going to pay for that long-term care? Okay, do we remember that they had $100,000 in retirement and $50,000, and they had they live off their Social Security and retirement? Well, how do we think that they're going to pay for that? Do you guys know that nursing homes cost somewhere in the area of $9,000 to $10,000, if not more? I mean, so if one of them needs to go into a nursing home, they're going to have to spend $10,000 a month on their own, right? Okay, so they have $100,000, but that's going to go away in 10 months. And Medicaid has a whole bunch of rules. So then they're going to say, well, I need to qualify for Medicaid. And I am not talking about the Medicaid of when you think, oh, I don't qualify for Medicaid. I have too much money. I have a house. No, Medicaid is long-term care. Medicaid is one of the only options we have for long-term care in this country. Your health insurance may not cover you for long-term care. Medicare is not long-term care. Medicaid is one of the only options we have. Okay. So now you're going to find yourself in a predicament. And if somebody tells you you don't qualify for Medicaid when you're elderly and you have a diagnosis and you need to go into a nursing home, don't listen to them. See an attorney who knows about Medicaid plan. So one of the rules of Medicaid is that they don't count your house. Okay, that's a secret. Nobody knows that. Medicaid is not meant, the Medicaid rules were not meant for you to understand. Most attorneys don't even understand them. but Medicaid won't count your house. And so I hear people say, oh, I have a $600,000 house. It doesn't matter. Medicaid doesn't count that. Up to $688,000. If your house is worth more than that, well, then they'll count the remaining after the $688,000. So Medicaid's not going to count their home, but Medicaid's going to count that rental home they have, the $250,000. They're going to count the retirement and cash that they have, right? Well, guess what? Mark is not going to qualify because he needs to get his countable assets below $148,000, roughly. And how's he going to do that? He's going to spend it all down. So they're going to be looking for ways. Oh, go spend money. Go give it to so-and-so. Well, be careful because Medicaid has rules on that too. There's only certain things you can spend your money on that Medicaid will allow. And if they see that you're just giving it away, that's not enough for them and they will still count it. And then Medicaid will put a lien on your home if you don't protect it correctly. And everybody, I always hear people say, oh, Medicaid is going to put a lien on your home. They probably will. In the state of Texas, Medicaid is allowed to put a lien on your home so that when you die, they can come back and collect that money that they gave you for your long-term care. And they is Medicaid. All right. So again, wills, if you have them, great. Just know that they're going to go through probate. Probate is a legal proceeding. It could take over 9 months. The control lies within the judge. And if the judge isn't having a good day that day, you may not get what you need. Okay. But our judges here are pretty good. So I'm sure they'll be fine. But I don't know if you're in Bexar County or you're in another county. So we don't know how the judge is feeling. The other thing people don't realize is that wills are public record. So once you die, your will, anybody can go look at it. So if you didn't want your sister or your brother or your friend or your neighbor or your daughter who you didn't lend $10,000 to because you told her you didn't have any money, she's going to know that you had a bunch of money, right? Or not a bunch, but you had some money because they're public record. Anybody will see what you have because we have to file an inventory. Nobody knows that either. So also probate can be very expensive. When a will is not done properly, it is very expensive to probate one. Your kids could probably fight. I'm sure your kids don't fight, but a lot of the other kids I see, they fight. Siblings may fight for money. They may say, oh, she didn't mean to leave me out. There's a lot of issues with probate. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a will because a will is sometimes the best avenue for people, but you need to talk to somebody. Figure out if it's the right thing for you. All right, so remember, this is Mark and Jane, guys. Let's just take a little moment to remember who they are. All right. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the basket method. All right, so the basket method, that has all of the options that the rebound method has, but this is a little bit, there's just more control. There are more options here. Okay, so you can have a joint or an individual revocable trust, and revocable means you can revoke it at any time, just like a will. But with this basket method, the basket method allows for more rules, more control. If you're like me, I like to have control. Even after you die, you have control. More conditional thinking. You can say, if my daughter goes to A&M or goes to UT Austin, I'm going to give her money and I'm going to pay for her tuition. But if she goes to Ohio State, I'm not going to give her any money. You can do that. You can do that in a trust. You cannot do it in a will. You can avoid probate altogether. You don't have to go in front of a judge if it's done correctly and if you fund it. Okay. But you can avoid probate altogether. And you can protect against minors, immaturity, drug abuse, special needs, disability, anything like that. And a trust also protects your minors. Okay, it protects because minors are not allowed to get money in the state of Texas. They're not allowed to own a house. Okay, you can't leave your 8-year-old house. And it'll allow for the immediate sale of real estate. So if you left that house to your 4 kids and you want them to sell it because you don't want them to fight and you don't want squatters to be in the house, guess what? Go ahead. They can sell it right away. Split the proceeds. You can contribute to or withdraw assets whenever you want. And you can eliminate ancillary administration. What that means is if you own property in another state, a rebound method, the will is not for you. You need an estate, you need a revocable trust. That might be the best thing for you, or you can use other trusts, but having a trust can oftentimes prevent you from having to go probate in another state. Because remember, every state has their own laws. And so if you own something in Montana, you may not be able to use the will that you probated in Texas. The judge does not have to follow that will or that order. And you can fund it either during your life or when you die, you can leave your bank account. That trust can be the beneficiary. But it still doesn't offer you protections from Medicaid. Just keep that in mind. All right. So let's play out the basket method. All right. So remember, Mark and Jane, their basket method is going to get played out. So they're going to deed the house, their home, their homestead, and the rental into the trust. They're going to fund it now. Their lawyer's going to do it properly. They're going to name all their beneficiaries. They're going to name the trust as their beneficiary. And then the trust will have their 4 kids named as beneficiaries. But Scott and Larry's interest, remember Scott has a drug abuse problem or alcohol, and Larry has a disability. Well, their interest is going to have more structure and control. And Jennifer is going to control that. But Jennifer and Jason, they're just going to receive their share and they're going to go on with their life. But Scott and Larry's interest, it's going to be restricted until the age of 55. They're not going to be able to just get $250,000 or whatever the amount is into their hand to do whatever they want. Jennifer's going to protect Larry's interest. She's going to put it in a special needs trust, and she's going to make sure he gets his disability benefits still. And she's going to keep Scott from going out and furthering his substance abuse problem. So there's a lot of control, a lot of structure there. All right, we're not going to talk about that last side. So now we're going to hit on the piggy bank method. Okay, why do we call it the piggy bank method? Well, y'all know a piggy bank, you have to like break it. You have to like, it's really hard to get into, right? So like, here you go. This box, I can just open it up, right? I can just say, oh, here you go. I'm going to open it. I'm going to take it out. A piggy bank, you cannot do that one. You have to break it. You're going to see glass everywhere. Or you can take that little rubber piece out, but everybody knows you can't really get the money out. So we call it the piggy bank method because this is our most secure and protective trust. It is irrevocable though. You can't go back. It's just like you can't go back when you break a piggy bank. You can never I guess you could glue all the little pieces together, but I don't think it'll ever be the same. And this is a special type of trust. We recommend it a lot for people who are getting older, who are concerned that they may need to qualify for Medicaid. And so with Mark and Jane, right? We're gonna play it out here. And if you need creditor protection while you're alive, right? Because you have a lot of hospital bills, you have a lot of other bills going on. If there's anything in the trust, in that trust is protected from Medicaid and from nursing homes coming after you and filing some liens or things like that. And you can appoint somebody to have access to that trust. So just because it's irrevocable, you can't own the trust. You cannot have access to the trust, but somebody else can. And the 5-year gift look back still applies. Okay, and we'll talk about that later. But there is, just so you know, if you're trying to qualify for Medicaid, there's a 5-year look back period. So if you give a gift away and you say, oh my gosh, I have an extra $100,000, I'm going to go give it to charity or something. I don't know, that doesn't qualify. But if that's what you did, or you put it in something that qualifies, Medicaid is going to say, hey, wait, you gave $100,000 to charity. Well, you just did it. So we're going to say, oh, you gave it just 2 days ago. We're going to count it as you still have it because we need to wait 5 years from that date that you gave it away. Now you're going to wait 5 years to qualify for Medicaid. All right. So here's the piggy bank method playing out. Mark and Jane, they move their homestead and their rental home into their protection trust. And that money market, they move it, the $50,000, they move it into their trust. And they appoint Jennifer as a trustee and the lifetime beneficiary. So Jennifer has access to everything. And Jennifer's that daughter that's always going to take care of her parents no matter what. Mark and Jane will still live off Social Security and retirement, and they'll maintain their residence. That home is still theirs. They can do it's theirs. They have all the exemptions. They're not going to lose anything. And if Mark and Jane need long-term care skilled nursing, they could spend down some of their money and their retirement assets, but they're probably not going to need to. Okay. And so I want to show you, I want to go back to Mark and Jane. Sorry, I'm going to scroll through, because remember, they put the rental home and their homestead into this trust. They're protected now. And they put $50,000. So all they have is $100,000 left. Remember, they got to get their assets below $148,000. Looks like they're good to me. I mean, of course, there's some other things we have to do, but it looks like they're good so far. I think Mark might qualify for Medicaid. And guess what? Looking at this picture, you do not think that they qualify. They have a nice house. They have 2 cars, right? We may have to do something with one of the cars, but even with the car, they may still qualify because that car is not worth $50,000. I mean, that's a Ford little blue car there, and it wasn't $50,000. Okay. And they can still live off their Social Security and retirement. And Mark, if he needs to go into a nursing home, he gets to go in. Medicaid will pay for it. And his beautiful wife is going to keep living her life, and she doesn't have to spend all of her money. So now, what if they had used the rebound or the basket method? Well, they would have had to sell the rental home because Medicaid doesn't allow for it, right? Because it's a countable asset. They'd have to spend down all of the cash and investments. Medicaid would still get a lien on their primary homestead because, yes, it doesn't exceed the $688,000, but Medicaid can come put a lien when you die. And guess what? When you leave the house to your 4 kids, they're going to have to pay that lien. And so they may not get much out of that house. So nothing was protected. All their life, they worked for a house, for money, for cars. And you know what? They lost it all because they got sick. I mean, nobody deserves to lose it all just because you get sick. There's something wrong with that picture, okay? Or they could just self-fund it. But again, remember, what are they going to get through? 10 months, 12 months, and then lose all their money? So I just want to talk about that. And here's just a slide of how much nursing homes cost. Also, if you get sick and you have to stay home, that cost varies. But if you live in independent living, it's about $2,500. Usually it's more, but that's on a low end. Personal care, having someone come take care of you, is about $5,500. It is expensive. Guys, protect your assets so you can qualify for the money that's available to you. All right. I'm not going to recap everything, but just going to recap quickly. We talked about the rebound method. It's the lowest investment. It is when somebody doesn't really need a lot of control. They may have one property or no property, maybe live in an apartment. You don't have any concerns about long-term care, and you have a power of attorney and a living will already set up, and you think that's enough, okay? And you're okay with it going through probate because you know what? You're going to let your beneficiaries pay for it. It's quick, it's straightforward. Hey, this is a good option for some people, okay? The next thing we talked about was the basket method. And the reason, again, we call the basket method because you can open it, close it, open it, take stuff out, put stuff in. That's our revocable trust plan. And you can, some of the pros to that are you can sell real estate without any delay. It eliminates out of county and out of state real estate issues. So having to probate your same will from Texas and Montana, like we talked about. It allows you to control or structure the way your kids or the way your beneficiaries receive money. You can have consistent rules for all assets. It allows for conditional thinking. If this, then that. It'll protect your assets for your beneficiaries, but it's not an asset protection. It doesn't protect for Medicaid and stuff. But your beneficiaries can be protected, but it does not protect against Medicaid liens. Piggy bank method. Again, remember, this is our asset protection. It's our most kind of what I would say secure, protective trust, but it's not for everybody. And so same benefits as revocable trust, but you cannot access your money whenever you want. You have to have somebody access it, because the money technically doesn't belong to you anymore, although we'll talk about all those things later. But you can protect your assets from creditors while you're alive. You can prevent the spend down of all of your money and still qualify for Medicaid. Remember, Mark, he had a nice house, he had money, he had cars, and he still got Medicaid. You can protect your assets from Medicaid liens. You can ensure your assets and trust will go to the intended heirs no matter what happens. And it'll allow a designated person, such as Jennifer, to access the funds if needed. So if you need $5,000 to go on a trip, Jennifer can access it if she wants, and she can take you on that trip, or she can just buy you tickets. No big deal. So this is also a great plan for certain people. And we're not going to talk about this side. So far you've discovered rebound, basket, and piggy bank methods. There is no right answer, okay? There is only an answer for you. And it depends on how much control you want, how much protection you want for your kids and for yourself. So that is what you've discovered so far. But the key point of this is so that you know that you can protect yourself, your family, and your life savings. So that is key. And so I want to thank you for being on here. I want to urge you that if you feel like any of this applies to you, to call us. Our number is on the bottom of the screen. Set up an appointment. Do your estate planning, because it's always, you can wait until you can't wait anymore. And time again, we see people say, oh, I was going to do a will. Oh, I was going to do my trust. And my mom was going to do it, but she didn't have time. And now we have 5 kids fighting over stuff. Or if you're married and you're in a blended family, there are more issues. Okay. So I want y'all to call us, speak to an attorney, and come see us. And then we talked about the 3 main things. One thing I'm going to tell you, and I told you would walk away here with some type of secret. So we're going to talk about a ladybird deed real quick. A ladybird deed is something that most attorneys won't tell you about, because it's a one and done. You do a ladybird deed. Now, again, we don't recommend them for everybody, but it is a way to protect people with very, very little assets, but they have a home. We can help protect them with the ladybird deed. Okay. It is a great tool that we have at our disposal. And we oftentimes, we supplement a will with that, but we'll talk to you about it. It's a great option that most attorneys don't know about. When you come in, we can tell you. So again, urge you, we're in downtown San Antonio. You can park there for free. Yay. You can never park for free downtown. But come see us. We have a whole system designed to help you. We have a vision meeting, where you're going to tell us and we're going to understand your goals. We're going to have a design meeting where you can ask me any questions you want, or you're going to clarify options. You're going to make a decision. We're going to get more information. Then we're going to start drafting. We're going to have a signing meeting. You're going to come in and you're going to sign. And this may take a little while because you may be thinking about it or changing along the way. And then we also offer packages where we can do continual maintenance. So like if you're like me and you make changes and you're like, oh wait, I don't want to do that anymore, I want to do this, we can offer that too. But I urge you, come in. We always offer a promotion we always offer something for people who watch our videos. And that, if you watch this video, we're gonna give you a in-person consultation to meet with us and hopefully protect your family. Guys, we are in this to protect your family. Time and time again, I see families fighting over this, and it is not worth it. Get it done. Put it in your safe. Don't look back. Take care of your family. You work so hard for everything you do, and you you saved your whole life, and there's no need to let that slip away. So continue to protect your family, and we hope that you give us a call. Our email is on here, and this is our phone number, 210-914-8493. And we'll also have a link so you can set up an appointment with us. Thank you, and you guys have a great day.